Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now it looks as though the Nigerian debt burden continues to increase year on year under this present dispensation, under this present Malam Buhari regime. They just continue to borrow and borrow so that they can burden the oncoming generation with debts that will weigh them down. So I'll bring you this. Nigeria's debt hits 24.39 trillion, rises by 2.66 trillion in 1 year. So that's just in 1 year that's gone up. Nigeria's total debt profile as of December 31st, 2018 now stands at 24.3787 trillion. The figure swelled by 12.25% from 21.725 trillion in 2017 to 24.39 trillion in 2018. The debt rose by 2.66 trillion from December 31st, 2017 to December 31st, 2018, the Debt Management Office said. Statistics provided by the DMO in Abuja on Thursday show that the country's public debt rose by 21.73 trillion in 2017 to 24.39 trillion within the 1 year period. According to the DMO, the year-on-year growth of public debt shows 12.25% within a 1 year period. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja on Thursday, Director General of DMO, Patience Oniha, said the funds were borrowed to fund projects, to finance budget deficit, and to refinance maturing obligations. Particularly, she said, some foreign debts was used to refinance treasury bills because of the short tenor of the bills, adding that borrowing from abroad had also helped to stabilize the local currency in the last 2 years. The DMO boss said that the federal government's domestic debt stock included 331.12 billion promissory notes issued to all marketing companies and state governments in December 2018. According to her, some targets that had been set in the country's debt management strategy had been achieved or nearly achieved. These include the plan to achieve a tenor of 75 to 25 ratio in favor of long tenor debts. So that ratio, I'm assuming, is that you are not borrowing more than 25% of your overall worth. Oniha said that the target had been surpassed as the country now had a 78 to 22 ratio in favor of long-term debts. She said the share of domestic debt dropped by 68.18% from 73.36% as of December 31st, 2017, thereby achieving a mix of 68 to 18% and 31.82% in the debt stock. According to the DMO, the strategy of using relatively cheaper and longer tenure external funds is achieving the expected objectives. Some of the objectives were to create more space for other borrowers in the domestic market, extend the average tenure of the debt stock in order to reduce refinancing risk, and increase external reserves. The implication of the strategy led to an injection of 855 billion through the redemption of Nigerian treasury bills in 2018 and a general drop in the FGN's borrowing rate in the domestic market from 18% per annum in 2017 to 14 to 15% per annum in 2018, Oniha said. Oniha said that borrowing for 2019 would be 50-50 split between domestic and external in striving to be consistent with the debt management strategy 2013 to 2019 aimed at achieving a 60-40 ratio between domestic debt and external debt. She said, relatively low interest rate means the government can issue longer dated bonds to continue to fund infrastructure projects. Revenue generating initiatives are expected to improve revenues and reduce the debt service to revenue ratio. The DMO boss said that some of its major plans in 2019 included to undertake more project-tied borrowing and to access more external borrowing from concessional sources. It also announced plans to issue 30-year FGN bonds for the first time. The issuance of the bond is expected to meet the needs of annuity funds and other long-term investors while also developing the domestic capital market and reducing the refinancing risk of the federal government. It added that another area of focus will be the management of risks associated with the debt stock and to mitigate debt service costs. Speaking on the issuance of promissory notes, Oniha said Federal Executive Council approved the establishment of a promissory note program. The purpose is to use it to settle inherited local debts and contractual obligations of the federal government. The program is estimated at 3.4 trillion. It will provide stimulus to the economy and unlock investment across a number of sectors currently having liquidity issues. She said that the program would also have a positive impact on the non-performing loan ratio of the banks, which would, in turn, increase the bank's capacity to lend. Oniha said that it would also enable the federal government to formally recognize and account for its true liability in line with international public sector accounting standards. Areas to be covered in the promissory note program include contractors, exporters, judgment debts, state government and all marketing companies. So this is what is going on in Nigeria at the moment. That is a summary of the Nigerian debt strategy position and the borrowings and the reasonings why. This Oniha woman is in charge of the organization that is in charge of that borrowing. What is their name again? Let's just look it up. She's in charge of that organization. What are they called? Yes, the Debt Management Office she's in charge of. She's in charge of the government's Debt Management Office. So an important office and an important woman. And this is what she has to say about the Nigerian strategy. She's saying that they're trying to achieve a 75 to 25% ratio. So that is effectively like you're borrowing money to finance your house, so you have some sort of equity that you place down, like a surety or a guarantee. That sort of bracket of thinking. I'm not an economist, but that's my understanding of it. But I'm sure you guys have a better understanding of it, and you can explain it to me in the comment section. But effectively, she's trying to say that they're trying to strike a balance of a weighted ratio so that the burden of the debt is not too weighed on the economy. So that's effectively what she is saying. But then if you look at the reasons why they are borrowing this money, this is really where the concern kicks in, because it's the usual suspects, isn't it? The oil marketing, and we all know what oil marketing means in Nigeria. Oil marketing effectively means oil subsidy, because the oil marketers are the ones bringing the oil into the Nigerian space, into the Nigerian economy for the consumption of the Nigerian population. And we all know that that is the biggest scam going on in Nigeria at the moment, all this oil business, all this oil subsidy business. Buhari himself said in 2015, when he was running for election, that there is no such thing as oil subsidy in Nigeria, that the whole thing is a scam. And who should know? Buhari should know. And why should he know? Because Buhari was the former Minister of Petroleum under the Obasanjo regime all those years ago, not under the civilian regime, but under the military regime. Buhari claimed he built 4 of the key refineries in Nigeria. He's the present oil minister now. He was the chairman of the Petroleum Trust Fund under Abacha. So if anybody should know, if there's oil subsidy going on in Nigeria or not. It is Buhari, because it is supposedly his area of expertise. He has worked in that field for a good length of time, so anybody who should know, he should know. So if he's saying that there's no oil subsidy, and then we are now having this heavily weighted amounts of monies going towards oil subsidy under his own regime, and the oil subsidy under this Buhari regime has gone up about 5, 6, 7-fold from what it was under Goodluck Jonathan. So they're just now looting at will with impunity. So if he's saying it's a scam and he is carrying it on, then we can only then carry through what he has said and apply it to him. This is his own logic. So if it was a scam under Goodluck Jonathan and nothing like oil subsidy existed, then it's certainly a scam still now, because he has already said that oil subsidy does not exist. So that's one scam. And then all these debts as well that they are carrying, the debts to the state governments and the contractors. The debts to the contractors I can understand, although I can't fully understand that, because a lot of these contracts were already budgeted for severally over the years. Lagos to Ibadan is a classic example. They budget for that road every single year for the last 30 years, and it still remains in the state that it was, and now they will say they're going to borrow money to pay contractors for it. So what have you been doing for the budgeting that you have been doing for 30 years, where you budget for this road every single year for 30 years? So this is the scam that is going on. They're just borrowing money to put into their pockets and burdening the oncoming generation with a debt that will weigh them down and they will find very difficult to contend with. So this is the state of play in Nigeria now, the debt burden. I don't want this video to carry on for too long, so I'm just going to cut it off here, but I have said enough for you to have your input. So come have that input with me in the comment section. But before you come have that input with me in the comment section, click on the red subscribe button so it goes gray. Click on the bell button as well so you are notified as soon as I drop a new video. Once you've done both, come let's talk economics in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, meet you there, but for now I'll say peace.